Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we are tackling a mission that I am absolutely obsessed with. We're going to talk about transforming that terrifying, sweaty-palmed ordeal of public speaking into something that feels natural, relatable, and honestly, genuinely enjoyable. If you've ever felt your stomach completely drop right before stepping up to a microphone, or even just, unmuting yourself on a massive Zoom call, you are in the right place. We're unpacking some fascinating insights today that will completely rewire how you think about standing in front of an audience.
Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever just frozen up on stage? Have you ever completely lost your train of thought or felt like your heart was literally beating right out of your chest? Look, if you're nodding along right now, I want you to know you're validating a universally shared anxiety. We all feel it, every single one of us. But the big question is, why? Why does simply stepping in front of a crowd suddenly make us feel like we've completely forgotten how to be a normal human being?
Well, it turns out there are three massive, subconscious fears driving this panic. First up, we are absolutely terrified of just blanking, forgetting what we're going to say and leaving this agonizing, awkward silence hanging in the room. Second, we fear being laughed at. And I mean unintentionally laughed at, not because you just dropped a brilliant joke. And third, we all have this lingering, awful dread of looking out into the crowd and seeing people falling asleep, staring down at their phones, or just generally ignoring us.
And these fears are powerful. They trigger a very real biological fight or flight response in our brains. So when we feel that intense pressure, we start behaving in these deeply unnatural ways. Some of us speed up, just rushing through everything without taking a single breath because we just want the whole thing to be over. Others completely freeze, losing all their natural energy and dropping into this incredibly dull, robotic monotone. Basically, the pressure strips away our natural personality at the exact moment we need it the most.
Which brings us to Section 1, the corporate robot trap, and how pressure destroys personality. Let's look at how this actually plays out in the real world.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what I mean. Think about how you talk normally. If you bump into me at the office canteen and ask what I'm up to this weekend, I'll probably say something like, "Oh, I'm totally knackered, I'm just going to spend the weekend watching box sets on the couch." Right? It's normal, it's relatable. But put that exact same question into a high-pressure professional setting, and suddenly people start talking entirely differently. They'll say bizarre things like, "Well, I'm going to break the weekend down into 12 distinct points, but first I'd like to discuss the weekend as a post-industrial concept." It sounds absolutely ridiculous. If you spoke like that to a friend, they'd think you were out of your mind. Yet under pressure, we all kind of tend to do exactly this.
To show you how easily this happens to even the best of us, let me share this amazing anecdote from our source material about a head of human resources named Jane. So Jane was this incredibly charismatic, warm person. Right before her communications workshop started, she was laughing, offering people drinks, chatting away about her kids spilling ink all over a school uniform. She was completely at ease and super engaging. But the very second a camera was pulled out to record a 1-minute practice speech, this naturally charming woman stiffened up and spouted, "The important thing is the LRUs, and I'm going to talk about the needs of LRUs." And she just went on like this for an entire minute. Afterward, when the instructor asked what on earth an LRU was, Jane gave this stunning answer. She literally called them, wait for it, learning receptor units. Yes, she was talking about people. Delegates, students, actual human beings. Jane had instantly transformed from a charismatic, storytelling human into a total corporate robot. She essentially failed what we're going to call the coffee shop test.
Missing that human connection can have massive, real-world consequences. Let's move on to Section 2, the £1 million pitch, and what happens when you miss the human connection. Picture this. We've got an engineer named Jim, and he has to present to a boardroom of 30 incredibly stern, gladiator-like decision-makers. He's asking for £1 million to build a new footbridge. Jim goes in and he spends his entire 5 minutes flustering through notes, throwing up complex graphs, and leading this intense debate on where the bridge should be constructed out of steel or aluminium. But you know what the real reason for this bridge was? Every single morning, local CCTV was catching kids sprinting across a highly dangerous, busy junction just to get to school. In the last couple of months alone, 3 kids had almost died. This footbridge would literally save children's lives.
So the crucial point is, Jim never even mentioned the kids, and because of that, he completely lost the £1 million funding. When he was asked later why he didn't share that incredibly compelling story, Jim said he felt he had to be more professional and focus on all the technical details. The board, who by the way weren't even engineers, rejected the whole pitch over metal types. Jim failed to appeal to their better human nature, and he paid a huge price for it. So how do we avoid the fate of Jane and Jim? Let's jump into Section 3, Passing the Coffee Shop Test, which gives us a surprisingly simple solution.
Here is the absolute ultimate benchmark for natural communication. And it's beautifully simple. The next time you have to speak, whether you're at a friend's birthday, sitting in a job interview, or standing on stage at a massive conference, just imagine 2 cups of coffee sitting right there between you and your audience, and talk exactly like you would to a friend. When you're in a coffee shop, you naturally think about the person across from you. You tell them things you know they'll actually find interesting. You don't try to be a corporate robot.
And part of that natural coffee shop vibe relies heavily on Section 4, the power of storytelling and connecting in a noisy world.
Because we live in a phenomenally noisy world right now. Think about all the WhatsApps, the streaming shows, the apps, the games, constantly fighting for our attention. By tomorrow, most of the raw facts and figures you share with an audience will be completely forgotten. But stories? Stories actually stick. Consider the UK post office scandal. For 20 years, this was a highly technical, mathematical, and legal court battle over the Horizon software system. It was in the news, sure, but it didn't really ignite the public. Then, just months ago, a TV drama aired about it. It completely bypassed the dense facts and figures and focused entirely on the emotional connection to the real people whose lives were ruined. And the result? Within weeks, the Prime Minister bypassed Parliament entirely to promise hundreds of millions in compensation. That timeline right there is absolute proof that technical facts achieve almost nothing without the emotional power of a story.
Another really key part of getting into that coffee shop mindset brings us to Section 5, Benefits before Features, because context is everything. To show you exactly what happens when you get this backward, listen to this hilarious quote from the original source material. The speaker went to his GP because he had a stomach ache. The doctor prods around a bit, types some stuff on his computer, and then very gravely turns and delivers this line. Mr. Bernstein, I think you've got a problem with electrolytes and pathogenic bacteria. Unsurprisingly, the poor patient went into absolute, terrifying panic, thinking his life was basically over.
The reality? He just had a minor bout of food poisoning. The doctor used his advanced technical knowledge to give the scary facts before giving the actual context. Just like in a coffee shop where you'd ask a friend how they're doing first, that GP should have started with the comforting bottom line. He should have said, "You'll be fine by the weekend, it's just a little food-related bug." Only after providing that comforting context should he even think about diving into the fascinating world of electrolytes.
Which sets us up perfectly for our final metaphor, wrapping up how we cure presentation anxiety once and for all. Section 6, your key message, antihistamine, curing the root cause.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it completely frames the problem in a new way. We waste so much time stressing out about the physical symptoms of public speaking, the shaking hands, the fast breathing, the nervous sweating, but trying to cure those physical symptoms, that's like having terrible hay fever and asking the doctor for a softer tissue. A soft tissue doesn't stop the sneezing. What you actually need is the antihistamine. For public speaking, your antihistamine is your conversational content. Getting straight to your key message, just like you would with a buddy, actually cures the root cause of those nerves. So, let's bring the whole shebang together with the coffee shop cure. If you follow step 1 and just talk to a room full of people the exact same way you'd talk to a friend over a coffee, some pretty incredible things start to happen. Step 2. Your natural charisma just appears all on its own. You literally don't have to force it. Step 3. Your hands start to move instinctively because, well, that's what you naturally do when you're animated and engaged. And finally, step 4. Total relaxation and confidence just naturally follow.
Which leaves us with one final, incredibly important question for you to chew on today. Will you treat your next audience as a board of stern, judgmental gladiators or as a friend over a cup of coffee? Because you have the power to choose. By keeping that imaginary cup of coffee right there in your mind, you can ditch the corporate robot routine for good, share your real stories, and truly connect. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I absolutely cannot wait to see how you bring your natural conversational self to your next big presentation. Catch you next time.